Welcome to Ageless Wisdom with a Z in wisdom. I'm Pat Alva-Kraker, and I'm joining you here from Fort Worth, Texas.
And I'm Pearl Pang from Port Charlotte, Florida.
Today, we're talking about effective communications, and we'll focus on conversations, including speech delivery, day-to-day conversations in your personal life and in your work life.
Not hacks, scripts, or clever phrases. We're talking about what actually lands when you talk. We found that most women know what to say. They are unsure how their message is received.
Yes. We all know that intent doesn't equal impact. We can have the best intentions in the world, and the people that we're speaking to can feel confused, they can feel hurt, intimidated, and we are not even aware of what's going on.
So think, when were you surprised by how something you said landed, especially with intentions?
Yes. Most of us, if you worked in corporate, most of us were trained to focus on the words, right? Be articulate, be professional, say it the right way. Words matter, but they're only part of the message. Research and experience tells us that it's the body language. It's your tone, your facial expression, your posture, your eyes, your pacing, and even silence speaks first.
Yeah, we found that people sense before they fully listen. Their nervous system scans the speaker in seconds and quietly asks three things. Am I safe with this person? Do they respect me? Are they open or closed? That scan finishes before you, the speaker, complete a sentence. Your presence and delivery has already set the perceived reality in their head.
So let's use this one simple line. Can you explain that again? When you say that with relaxed shoulders, a softer face, a curious tone, that lands as, you know what, I'm interested, and we're in partnership in this conversation.
Yeah, and now say it with tight jaw, crossed arms, raised eyebrow. It lands as judgment, impatience, or a challenge. Same words, completely different emotional message or signal. Most of us are not choosing and processing that difference consciously. Our conversation style runs on decades of muscle memory.
Yes, muscle memory. Wow. If you spent years needing to be sharp to be taken seriously, your voice still more than likely sounds and has a little edge. And honestly, that was me. I worked in male-dominated fields for 35 years. If you lead teams, your posture signals authority, even when you want to feel open. If you've been dismissed or you've been misunderstood, your body will brace even before a conversation starts.
Our body records our experiences. Emotional signals are sent all the time, during, after, and even before the words are exchanged. Our individual realities are not only different, but they change in real time, fast, dynamic, and often undetectable. That's why conversations can break down, even between reasonable, well-intentioned people. Not necessarily because anyone is the problem. Unspoken emotions piled up into rigid beliefs that no one ever checks or clears, then those beliefs roll through a relationship like a runaway boulder, crushing reality, crushing clarity, and leaving huge misunderstanding behind. So on the flip side, when it's your turn to listen in a conversation or meeting, have you experienced that you're still processing what you heard, yet the speaker already moved on to a different topic?
Right.
And have you been practicing checking in with your own perception, emotions, assumptions, and belief, and so on, your conversational styles and patterns, audience, or we call them personas, are earned intelligence stored
Mhm.
in the body.
Yeah.
It helped you survive and succeed, which we often see in our engagements for individuals, groups,
Mhm.
and team coaching. Here's what we invite you to ponder. What once created respect and success can also be perceived as distance, judgment, impatience, and or emotional closure. You change as you evolve. And that's great. Yet your body might still be speaking the language of past experiences.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In other words, even when your intent is openness, your tone may carry finality. Your posture may signal command, not curiosity. And your speed may outrun other people's emotional pacing. Influence gets limited, not because you got too strong, but because your old survival style is still driving the room. Think about it. Which communication habits once protected you, but now may be creating distance?
Mm. And one more trap. Many of us listen to respond, not to understand first. If you're already drafting your reply while they talk, you're not really hearing them completely. They feel that first,
Yeah.
fast. So try this in your next key conversation. Before you speak next, ask yourself, did I actually hear what they said? Or am I
Yeah.
still focused on what I want to say? That one pause can help all parties involved in the conversation, in the meeting, stay the course and achieve your agreed outcome.
Exactly. So, Pearl, let's look at a few more examples that we've seen in our clients, shall we?
Yeah, here's a good one. Picture this. A woman says in the meeting, I have a concern about the timeline. Her tone's flat, her face is tight. The room hears resistance. What she actually means is responsibility. She's
Yeah.
thinking about deliverables, the team, and what is realistic. Her delivery does not show that. So the room braces instead of collaborating.
Yeah. Yes. Another example, money talks and partnerships. You say, we need to talk about money. Shoulders tense, face looks serious. Before the content even starts, the other person is already on edge. They are responding to your emotional signal, not your words.
I certainly have experienced that.
Yeah.
Example 3, adult children. You say, I'm just offering a suggestion. Your tone carries certainty. Your expression carries expectation. Yet they sense pressure and control and become defensive. Their defensiveness is not always about advice. It's about the history carried in your delivery.
Absolutely. Let's flip the coin because you live on the other side of this too. Who do you know that just irk you easily? Something about them somehow triggers you before they finish a sentence. You might feel their tone carries judgment, pressure, or distance, and your body reacts instantly. We all know tone and expression, they don't live in a vacuum. They carry relationship history, even though it might not be the history between the two of you. That is why sometimes small phrases can be so loaded. So here's your experiment. This week, notice one person whose tone or expression always impacts you. What do they trigger within you? What does their reaction tell you about what matters to you? Then turn the mirror. Where might somebody else be having the same reaction, even though your intentions are positive?
Hmm. So far, Pat, we talked about how some conversational breakdowns live in the gaps between intent, delivery, perception, and so on. Besides those suggestions that we discussed earlier, let's talk about how you can better choose to detect and bridge those gaps.
Right, right. In our mentoring sessions, we found that people rarely argue about stated intentions. They react to the emotional message they feel in the moment. The tone and expression set the emotional rules of the conversation. When your listeners do not feel safe or respected, they stop listening and they stop telling you the truth, the full truth, even if your logic is solid.
And for women who have led for decades, this pattern is often invisible. The style worked, it built careers and credibility. So the quiet belief in them might be, why change what worked?
Yeah.
But now the question we invite you to ask yourself is different. Not am I right, but does my delivery match what I actually want to create in this relationship or decision?
Here's a practical way to expose the gap. Video record one real conversation, even a short one. Watch and listen as a neutral observer. Ask yourself, if I did not know me, what emotional tone would I be perceiving? What would I be coming across with? How fast am I talking? Do I pause? Do I invite input or am I just plowing through the conversation?
Yeah, Pat, that's a wonderful practice. I do that whenever I got a chance, especially when stakes are high. Audience, at this point, we'd like to share an easy and helpful framework with our clients to help improve their conversational effectiveness. And it's called Signal, where S stands for setting the stage. Setting the stage means gaining clarity on the desired outcome based on the validated intention from all parties, however much you can get. And how does that connect to varied cues discussed earlier? I stand for internal regulation. Check in with your body often and your mind space. Inhale, exhale, relax before you speak another word. G is grounded, grounded mindfully, which means holding the space and meeting everyone where they're at first. No judging.
No judgment, no judgment. The N stands for notice the moment. Notice the energy, their body language of those around you. A is adjust and align. Check in and validate what you're observing so far. And lastly, L is live and level set agreed context. With presence of all the parties, focusing on achieving agreed outcome during the session. This is how authority becomes relational. And this is what keeps you relevant without burning out. Ladies, as you practice, remember, no self-beating. It's just data. It's just feedback. Awareness is what keeps and creates choice, and choice is what creates connection. So, what emotional temperature do you think your presence sets when you enter a conversation before you say much at all? Now, let's layer in beliefs and assumptions. If you assume someone did not understand, your tone turns instructional. I have seen this in myself, and I have done this with my family. They look at me like, talk to me like I'm an equal, not like I'm a student. And if you expect resistance, your face tightens even before you say anything. If you believe that you always have to be strong, your emotional access shuts down and you sound flat and distant.
We spot those patterns in other people instantly.
Yes.
Yet we are blind to them in ourselves if we don't take the time and space to reflect upon.
Yep.
It's not about blame or criticism, audience. It's about clear awareness. Awareness gives choice, as Pat mentioned earlier. Choice opens the door to real connection. We cannot connect when people read us as closed, impatient, or superior, even if we don't feel them that way at all inside.
Yes. Let's get back to the examples we called out earlier and introduce the term somatic. I want to pause here just a second because we're using a term that not everybody hears every day. That's somatic, SOMATIC. So what is it? Simply, somatic means what your body is doing and storing. Your breath, your muscles, your posture, your micro expressions, that is your somatic story. Your beliefs, believe it or not, live in your body. If you believe I'm fighting on my own, your shoulders are going to tighten. If you believe people will argue with me, then your jaw's going to tighten. In other words, your body starts conveying the conversation even before your words start showing up.
Nothing's been said, but our body's already showing up against our intent without us conscious about it. That's somatic. It's the language of sensation, breath, tension, posture, etc. It's how your experiences live in your body, not just in your thoughts. Practicing somatic regulation matters because our body is part of our presence. With current technological constraint, meaning we don't yet have a mirror in front of us or a reliable gauging device to help us detect and regulate our somatic cues. So what do? Here's a quick somatic reset. We've been guiding our clients to practice in real time. Before a hard conversation or meeting, relax and take a few deep breaths. Feel your stance and feet steady on the floor. Unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, soften your brow, and check in with your beliefs and assumptions. Then speak. You didn't change your content. You changed your signal. That tiny somatic shift often lands louder than an extra paragraph of explanation.
Yes, that's a good explanation, Pearl. I love it. Now, one question for you all. What is one belief that you hold about how a specific person communicates? Maybe a partner, a colleague, or maybe even a child.
Some people need warmth before clarity. Others need clarity before warmth. Some track tone more than words. Others watch our face, our posture more than anything we say. So if you assume your style is just being clear or being direct, misunderstandings multiply because you're not accounting for how the other person receives communication.
Early in your career, authority often came from control, speed, and certainty. That worked when you had to prove yourself or protect your team. Now, effectiveness comes from regulation, spaciousness, and signaling safety while staying strong and honest. Your power hasn't shrunk. It is becoming more relational. Another way of saying it is the magic isn't in doing more, it's in being more regulated. When you slow the energy and you create a little room and help people feel safe, your message lands differently. You're not losing power. You're learning how to share it.
Think about the person whose style frustrates you the most. What might they actually need that is different from what you keep giving them? Is it more space, more directness, more context, less detail, or something else?
Mm-hmm.
The answer to those questions becomes leverage. You can adjust your delivery, keep your truth, and dramatically change how the conversation lands.
So, Pearl, how do we move from autopilot to real choice in how we show up?
Yeah, that's a great question, Pat. Um, First, this is not about policing yourself or shrinking.
Mhm.
It's about pausing long enough to notice. Before you speak, ask, what emotion might my tone be signaling? What is my body communicating right now?
Exactly. Scan three things. Scan your jaw, your brow, your shoulders, even your breath pattern. A softened, relaxed expression changes how your words land, even if your content stays firm. You can be sharp in thought and soft in delivery at the same time. That's a feature, not a flaw.
Let's be clear, ladies. Softening or relaxing does not mean shrinking. Direct does not mean dismissive.
Right.
Authority does not require tension. Clarity does not need sharp edges. Those are old choices. You can be both soft and strong, both direct and warm, competent and open. There is no contradiction. That is evolution.
To our listeners, here is your experiment for the week. Pick one small shift, not a total makeover, just one thing. Maybe you pause and take one extra breath before you answer. Maybe you say, I'm curious about that, before stating your view, and then watch what changes.
Mm. And maybe you soften your eyes and add a little smile when someone, especially when someone disagrees with you. Maybe you let them finish the full sentence before you respond. Notice what happens to their somatic cues. Notice how much more they share when they feel you're actually with them, not racing ahead of them or competing against them.
Mhm.
Awareness increases your influence and it doesn't weaken it.
When your words, your tone, and expression finally line up, the conversation becomes a real connection. This is where leadership actually lives. It's not in the title that you have on LinkedIn.
Oh, Pad. Audience, your conversation style is not flawed. It's yours. It's a record of where you've been and what you learned to survive and thrive.
Mhm.
Many women realize early on not to shame themselves for how they sound. They sharpen their style and adapt it for different situations. That's awareness in practice. Practicing awareness gives you choice. Choice gives you influence. And influence shapes and boosts your relationships, not just how they look on paper. When you are aware, you can behave wisely and live authentically. That ability to read the room, adjust your delivery, and still stay true to yourself, that's real power.
Absolutely. And here is another assignment this week. Just notice, without judgment, how you show up. Curiosity does not demand perfection. It asks small, honest questions. What does my face say when someone disagrees with me? What does my tone say? Or how does it sound when I'm tired? I definitely know how I sound when I'm tired. It's obvious. But being aware of that, right? What
Mhm.
happens in my body when the stakes are high?
And watch what shifts when you simply notice. The moment you see a pattern, you're no longer trapped by it. You now have options.
I love that you now have options. You have agency. You're
Mhm.
not stuck with how you've always sounded, right? We offer deeper practices and discussions in our online courses, which will soon be available on demand. Watch out for updates in the description of this video as soon as they become available.
Yeah, that's right. We are truly excited about that finally happening in 2026. So like and subscribe our channel to stay tuned.
Well, thank you, Pearl. Thank you, audience, for tuning in and being part of Ageless Wisdom. We sincerely hope that you found today's episode helpful, and we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, audience. Here's to having more effective conversational outcomes. See you in our next episode. We appreciate you.